Scene one, Apple, take two.
Action!
Hello, I'm The Annoying Muppet and welcome to my new video where I'm talking about my 5 favourite films from each decade, starting from the 70s. The film that's number 5 is The Godfather. Did you know during an early shot of the scene where Vito Corleone returns home and his people carry him up the stairs, Marlon Brando put weights under his shoes on the bed as a prank to make it harder to lift him? The Godfather, American epic film released in 1972 that was adapted from the 1969 best-selling novel by Mario Puzo and has been regarded as a masterpiece since its release. Marlon Brando wanted Vito Corleone to look like a bulldog, so he stuffed his cheeks with cotton during the rehearsal. However, in the actual movie, he wore a special denture. The film that's number 4 is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It was released by Paramount Pictures on June 30th, 1971. The film was not a big success, eventually earning $4 million worldwide on a budget of $3 million, and was the 24th highest grossing film of the year in North America. When the kids enter the chocolate room for the first time and they see the candy garden, their reactions are real, as it was the first time they saw that part of the set. They also didn't know that Gene Wilder would emerge from the factory with a limp. The film that's number 3 is Jaws. Did you know that in Jaws, the animatronic was nicknamed Bruce after Spielberg's lawyer at the time, Bruce Rammer? Did you know that it was the first major film that was filmed on the ocean? When John Williams, the single most renowned film composer to ever do it, presented the now world-famous score to Spielberg, the latter thought he was joking. After all, the score only consisted of 2 notes, and Williams portrayed it via piano, but of course, in the end, the final score was recorded with a tuba. The film that's number 2 is Rocky. Sylvester Stallone was down and out in the mid-70s. He'd been in movies since the late 60s, but they were mostly extra work or small-time gigs. So Stallone was broke with just over 1,000 to his name, and his wife was pregnant. He thought the only way to make it was to create the space for himself by writing a screenplay. One night, Stallone was watching a heavyweight title fight on TV, Muhammad Ali vs. German boxer Chuck Wepner, nicknamed the Babylon Bleeder. It was Ali's first fight after the Rumble in the Jungle, and was billed as the white guy getting a chance. As you can gather by the title, nobody gave the Bleeder any shot, but Sylvester was taken by his heart. He knocked Ali down in the 9th round, but ultimately lost in the 15th by TKO. But he showed so much courage, it gave Sylvester all the material he needed for his new film. The film that is number 1, my favourite film from the 70s, is Monty Python and the Holy Grail. The face used to depict God is actually that of a 19th century English cricketer, W.G. Grace, who seemed to have the perfect beard and look for the important figure. Gilliam used a photograph of the sportsman and animated it appropriately adding Graham Chapman's voice to bring it to life. At the film's premiere, someone called in a bomb threat, and as such, the theatre workers had to evacuate the building just after the opening credits. Many members of the audience stated that they believed that this is part of the movie, which is an understandable mistake seeing that the group were known for their deliberate deception of their viewers. The night of the quest for the Holy Grail needed to look accurate, but the film had a minuscule budget, and therefore they could not afford to give every character a full, realised wardrobe. So to make that King Arthur felt special, he was the only person given legitimate armour, which weighed about 25 pounds. Next is my favourite from the 80s. Number 5 is Batman 1989. Keaton went to great lengths to research bats and study Frank Miller's A Dark Knight Returns comic book series. He even went as far as living alone in London before producing started to recreate Bruce Wayne's sense of isolation. According to a 2009 interview with MTV, William Dafoe said he had been in very early talks for the role of the Joker. It is unknown whether he passed on the opportunity or whether the studio did. Years later, he would end up playing another comic book villain in the form of the Green Goblin in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. The film that is number 4 is Land Before Time. It was the highest grossing animated film of all time until The Little Mermaid in 1989. Judith Barsi, who did the voice for Ducky, was murdered by her father 4 months before the film released. Judith was only 10 years old. Her headstone included her famous line in this film, "Yep, yep, yep." Pizza Hut once ran a promotional involving the characters. If you spent a certain amount of money on pizza, you could receive a free hand puppet of one of the characters. When the film was first released on video, there were also a commercial for Pizza Hut which played before the movie started. The film that is number 3 is Gremlins. The set of Kingston Falls is the same one used for Back to the Future in 1985. Both movies were filmed on the Universal Studio backlot. Originally, Stripe and Gizmo were the same character. This changed when executive producer Steven Spielberg insisted one of the Gremlins to be a good guy, with one the audience could identify. Director Joe Dante expressed that this decision was the reason why the film is fondly remembered. An earlier attempt to have monkeys play the Gremlins was abandoned because the test monkey panicked when made to wear a gremlin head. The film that is number 2 is Little Shop of Horrors. Fortunately, the movie director Frank Oz knew puppetry inside out. A key collaborator of Jim Henson, Oz had spent 10 years voicing Fozzie Bear, Miss Piggy and others before he was hired to helm Little Shop of Horrors. Oz's biggest challenge was creating the plant itself, named Audrey 2. It not only grows from a sapling to a man-eating plant over the course of the film, but it also sings, shimmies, and eats people alive. Technicians built 6 animatronics flight traps of various sizes for the film. The smallest was a mere 4 inches tall, and the largest stood 12 feet in height. Used towards the climax of the movie, it required as many as 60 human operators. The film that is my favourite from the 80s is Airplane. Shortwood Winston's childhood friend, Jim Adams, David Zucker, and Jerry Zucker grew up and moved to Los Angeles, where they were responsible for the sketch comedy troupe Kentucky Fried Theatre. The trio made a habit of recording late-night television looking for commercials to make fun of for video and film parodies, which is how they discovered Zero Hour, which was featured. Protagonist was named Ted Stryker. In Airplane, it's Ted Stryker. In order to make sure the cameraman angles and lighting on the airplane were matching those of Zero Hour, the trio always had the movie queued up on set. Yes, the 3 filmmakers did buy the rights to their semi-source material. Now these are my favourites from the 90s. Number 5 is Small Soldiers. John Dante originally wanted the cast of Predator to voice the Commando Elite. Arnold Schwarzenegger would voice Chip Hazard, Shane Black would voice Clip Killigan, Carl Weathers would voice Butch Meathook, Jess Ventura would voice Brick Bazooka, Sonny Lanham would voice Nick Nitro, and Bill Duke would voice Link Static. On making the movie, director Joe Dante recalled, "Originally, I was told to make an edgy picture for teenagers. But when the sponsor tie-ins came in, the new mandate was to soften it up as a kiddie movie. Too late as it turned out, there are elements of both approaches in there. Just before release, it was purged of a lot of action and explosions." The film that is number 4 is The Mask. At the time the work was underway on The Mask, Carey was best known for his work on Living Colour and in a series of supporting roles in films like Peggy Sue Got Married and Earth Girls Are Easy. But Chuck Russell was very aware of the actor thanks to time producing the 1986 Rodney Dangerfield comedy Back to School. Dangerfield and Carey were friends. Through a new line, considering Rick Morris and Robin Williams for the role, it was Carey who emerged as the frontrunner. The film that is number 3 is The Iron Giant. The first drafts of the film scripts were said to have a darker tone than the one that was finally went to production. The geopolitical tensions between the Soviet Union and the United States featured more prominently in the original screenplay, with one of the major themes being the threat of nuclear warfare. While the film preserved some of the political overtones of the Cold War and the space race, Brad Bird decided to lighten up the script, bringing forward the themes of human nature, peace, and friendship to appeal to the younger audience that the animated feature was intended for. Hughes, who read the script before it went to screen, expressed his approval of this version in a letter to Warner Bros. The film that's number 2 is Ace Ventura. Despite the belief it was Fletch for the 90s, Morgan Creek could not come up with a way to get Jack Bernstein's script for Ace Ventura made, so the production company CEO hired Tom Shadyac, Bob Hope's young ever joke writer, to direct the film. Despite his inexperience, they had been impressed by a short film he had directed. It was Shadyacs' idea to go after Kerry for the lead. Rick Moranis was approached about the lead, but turned the filmmakers down. In 1994, The Ace Ventura was released. Moranis starred in The Flintstones and Little Giants. The film that was my favourite from the 90s is Jurassic Park. As Jurassic Park entered post-production, Spielberg received the script for Schindler's List. Knowing they had to act now, he flew to Poland to film in the winter. Through teleconference, he remained in touch with his old crew, but he described working on both projects as a bipolar experience. Since the dinosaurs have very little screen time, the story of Jurassic Park is a very human one, so it was imperative that Spielberg get the right actors to bring these characters and their struggles to life. While the final cast is perfect in their respective roles, the journey to finding them left many what-if scenarios. Plenty of big-name stars were considered for the characters. Among these included Harrison Ford as Grant, Jim Carrey as Malcolm, and Robin Wright as Slater. Perhaps the biggest was Sean Connery, who passed on the chance to play Hammond for the part in Rising Sun, which became another feather in his cap of missed opportunities. Now I'm talking about my favourite films from the 2000s. Number 5 is Up. The Pixar crew went so far to investigate the number of helium-filled balloons it would take in real life to raise a fully sized house off the ground. While thousands of balloons were suggested to complete the task in Up, they learned it would actually realistically take more than 20 million of them. During the production of Up, the animation department produced an average of 4 seconds of animation a week. Paradise Falls is based on the world-famous Angel Falls in Venezuela. Up's version is 1.8 miles tall, or 9,700 feet tall, which is almost 3 times higher than Angel Falls, which stands at 3,212 feet tall. Number 4 is Happy Feet. Initially, Prince refused to allow the use of his song Kiss for the film. However, after seeing footage of the film, he not only changed his mind and allowed the song to be used, but he wrote an additional original song for the closing credits. The Song of the Heart is the final original song that Prince created for a movie. The song won him 1 Golden Globe Award, and he received a Grammy nomination. Number 3 is The Dark Knight. Eager to make the film with limited computer-generated effects, Nolan had to capture the Dark Knight's most insane stunts for real. This included flipping a semi-truck in the heart of Chicago banking district, which was doubling for Gotham as of a car chase. One of the few criticisms The Dark Knight has generally received is around the lead character, Christian Bale's Batman, specifically his voice. Batman's voice is noticeably different from the first movie, much gruffer and more hoarse and more aggressive. if there are any issues with the Batman voice, it's actually not down to Nolan or Christian Bale. During filming, Bale's voice was more toned down, like in the first film, but in post, Nolan had edited to be rougher, grittier sound. Number 2 is Iron Man. The script was not completely finished when filming began, since the filmmakers were more focused on the story and action, so the dialogue was added mid-filming. Director John Farrow acknowledged this made the film feel more natural. Some scenes were shot with 2 cameras to capture lines improvised on the spot. Robert Downey Jr. would ask for many takes of one scene, since he wanted to try something new. Gwyneth Paltrow, on the other hand, had a difficult time trying to match Downey with a suitable line, as she never knew what to say. My favourite film from the 2000s is Avatar. James Cameron originally planned for the film to be completely done in 1999. At the time, the special effects he wanted increased the budget to over $400 million, so no studio would fund the film, and it was shelved for 8 years. One of the books Dr. Augustine shares with the naive children is Dr. Seuss' The Lorax. It's the story of a jealous corporal entity destroying an entire forest in order to make an profit while driving all natural inhabitants of the land. Now it's time for my favourite films from the 2010s. Number 5 is Coco. During the first year of production, the team deeply researched Mexican culture and Dia de los Muertos. The orange flower seen throughout the film is the Aztec marigold, also known as the Mexican marigold. The flower is used in tradition of the Dia de los Muertos in Mexico to guide the deceased to the living. Number 4 is Avengers. Robert Downey Jr. kept food hidden all over the lab set, and apparently nobody could find where it was, so just let him continue doing it. In the movie, that's his actual food he's offering, and when he was eating, it wasn't scripted, he was just hungry. There were very few times that everyone was in town at once, but one night when they were, Chris Evans sent them all a text message reading "Assemble," promoting a night out to the town. Carl Gregg said that it was his favourite text message that he's ever been sent. The film that's number 3 is The Isle of Dogs. The title Isle of Dogs is a play on words. Said quickly and fluidly, it sounds like I love dogs. However, the play on words only works in English. Writer and director Wes Anderson hosted a competition for someone to be a member of the voice cast for this film. The only requirement was that they donated $10 or more to the Film Foundation, a non-profit foundation by Martin Soros, which specialized in the preservation and restoration of films around the world. Number 2 is Transformers Dark of the Moon. During filming in Washington, D.C., the 2011 Chevrolet Camaro that plays Bumblebee was struck by a Metro Police K9 SUV, responding to a bomb alert. The police officer involved sustained minor injuries, and Bumblebee sustained considerable damage. Filming was able to continue, as there were many copies of each Autobot for shooting purposes. According to Michael Bay, 532 vehicles were destroyed in the film. They were given away by an insurance company at no charge, as all of them were flood damaged. Number one, my favourite film from the 2010s is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse took 180 animators to complete. In Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, when Miles does his test, the date of the test says December. This is another way to show that he is in a different universe to our own. Stan Lee is seen twice in the film. One time, Stan Lee is seen walking over Peter B. Parker and Miles. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'd like to see you next time. Stay annoying. Please like and subscribe.
Scene 1, Apple, take 2.
Action!